Okay. I'll just record this if you don't mind.
Oh, no, not at all. So is Kathy going to start off first, or?
Whoever's ready.
Kathy, you want to start off?
My name is Kathy. I'm with PRMG. I guess today we're here. There were a couple new programs that are coming out, and one of the programs that Mindy was really interested in, and she wanted to pass around to all the agents. So we all know there's a new program coming out. These are more likely into the jumbo program that we have, and Unison is the main investor that we sell it to. So I want to help with Jim, so Jim can, talk
So
about the
Jim
program.
can talk about this program. All right. So, hi folks, I'm Jim Benavides. I'm with Unison Homeownership Investors. We're a real estate investment company that partners alongside PRMG in purchase transactions. Okay, so they do the normal underwriting, processing, appraisal like they normally do. All we do is come in second position and bring cash to the table. Okay, so I want to start off with a little testimony on how one of the families used our program, and maybe you can relate to one of the families that you've had in the past, or maybe even currently are working with. So I'm going to give this a shot, and let's see what see what you can take away from this.
Huh? Can't hear.
What happened?
Can you lower the volume?
It was working just a second ago. So now it's, all right. Hold on one second.
Battery 80%. Connected to SPRELT02.
All right, I'm going to try this one more time, guys. One more time. Ah,
SPRELT02. Disconnected. Ready to pair. SPRELT02. Connected to SPRELT02.
Me, I was looking for more space, a yard for my kids, a safe neighborhood. We found homes that were really expensive. The things that we wanted just seemed out of our price range. What I loved about this house was the yard, the space, the neighborhood.
This was the home we wanted. So we started looking at finance options. We realized we could fund a loan. The house needed some work, and we thought maybe we could stretch ourselves and be able to pull some of those things off. But we realized it would put us under a lot of pressure. Of all the options we found, Unison was so unique. Rather than looking like a loan, it felt more like a partnership. It enabled us to free up some money and to lower our monthly payment. It was very appealing. Taking the time to understand the program, we realized, wow, this is a great fit for us as a family. And our relationship with Unison kind of lifted the ceiling on what we could afford, but it also gave us the ability to free up some cash so that we'd have cash in hand when we moved in and not have to put everything we had down.
I've always wanted to be a stay-at-home mom and stay home with my kids, and we didn't want to have for me to get a job just so we could get in a house. We wanted me to be able to stay home with the kids. So Unison even allowed us to have that where I could stay home and I wouldn't have to get a job just so we could get into the house that we wanted.
Unison's a great fit for a lot of people like us, younger people in markets like San Diego County that are expensive.
To even own a home and be able to put our own touches on it, I love that. I love being able to make my house how I want it to be.
okay, so we had a little technical difficulty going on in this, but do you get the gist behind what we did? We partner alongside the customer in the purchase transaction. They were moving up from a house that they previously owned. They didn't want to put all the money that they were getting from the house into the new one, and ultimately they wanted the wife to stay home so that she could take care of the toddlers, right? So we were able to partner with them and enable what they would rather, preferably, buy their next home. So all we're doing here is really providing an option on how your customers can buy their next home. Okay, so Unison, we're a real estate investment company. Okay, I told you that we partner alongside PRMG. We're the second investor. They do the underwriting, the appraisal like they normally do. Okay, but what's really important to understand what we're bringing to the table here is that it's been vetted by the CFPB, the Consumer Financial Protection Board. So what we're not doing, we're not affecting the ability to repay any of the Dodd-Frank regulations. It's a consumer-friendly program. Okay, so we're an investor, and we're backed by institutional investors that provide us long-term patient capital. So I bring that up because we get categorized like a down payment assistance program, but we're not, we don't have anything to do with that. Okay, it's all private money. Okay, we can actually invest up to $500,000 into a property, or 10% of the value of the property. Okay, so there's a couple little criterias, but we're not affecting their ability to repay, and in fact, their first trust deed is a 30-year fixed cookie cutter loan. Okay, so there's nothing, subprime, there's nothing to do with that at all. Okay, 30-year fixed mortgage. Okay, so all we do is bring cash to the table. If your customer has 10%, we'll double it. Now they have 20%. So how would that potentially help them buy their next home? But when you look back at it, or just stand back and think about this, all we're doing is really bringing cash. It's not a loan. And so you see on top line there, it says, well, it's a rich uncle program. We're really like a rich uncle program. I remember telling this to an audience before, and the lady at the end just, if you would have called this a rich uncle program, would have got it. Right? Except that at the end, or we're just not going to be across from the table, at the next family outing, asking you when you're gonna sell your property. So there's no family ties here, right? It's a structured program, but we're giving them cash. It's like a gift, but there is a repayment involved in there. But literally, if they have 10%, we'll double it. Now they have 20%. Okay? So what we do is we invest alongside them the down payment. We go on title as a memorandum of option agreement. It's really just a real estate option contract. Okay, that's all this really is. It's a security instrument that says that we have an interest in the property. And also, there's a deed of trust. It's actually a performance lien that acts like a deed of trust, but there's no interest rate, there's no principal or interest to be repaid to us for up to 30 years. This is not a loan. So for 30 years, your customer doesn't have to make a single payment to us, and by bringing us to the table, it doesn't impact their overall qualifications to buy their home. It actually improves their chances of qualifying for a home. So what's in it for Unison? Right? If we're not getting paid for 30 years, what's in it for us? Well, we hope to profit alongside them in the future. We get our original investment back when they go to sell, plus a specified share of the change in value, either up or down. So if they sell at a profit, we make money. If they sell at a loss, we lose. It's really a win-win type situation. Okay, so I'm going to get into some of the mechanics, and I'm going to show you this, okay, as far as how it really kind of works. But literally, 30 years, no payments, and if they want to get rid of us and keep the property, we just ask them to hold the agreement for at least 3 years, and at that time they can refinance us out or just buy us out altogether. So there's a 3-year hold period. There's some other provisions in place, and I'll talk about those in towards the end.
Is there any penalty if they buy you out?
There's no penalty, but I'm going to explain that as we go through.
Okay.
Okay? All right, so have you had any customers that were disappointed with their current price points? Couldn't qualify for the house that they wanted? Were getting outbid in multiple bid situations? Or really feeling uncomfortable after they saved up forever for that down payment, feeling really uncomfortable putting their life savings into the house that they want to buy? Have you had anybody like that?
Yes.
It's exactly what this addresses. Those same issues that you guys face with your customers. It could be you just wanting to buy a house as well, right? But the bottom line is that it has a lot of good positive impact, and it addresses a lot of the issues: affordability, down payment, right? Houses, the interest rates have gone up a tad, they're softening a little bit, but the buying power for your customers, it really hasn't improved. So it decreases monthly payments, bringing money to the table, reduces their loan amounts. I'll show you that. And really it just kind of gives them another option in how they use their funds. Reserves funds and diversifies. We have customers that have a lot of money, they have 20 or 30%, but they want to keep it in their pocket. They want to really kind of use the minimal to purchase their house, because maybe they have a business and they want to use funds for other purposes. Maybe they're buying a house that's bigger than what they're living in now, and now they got to fill it with new, furniture. So, or maybe it's just that they have kids going away to school in the next couple of years. They like to have money for those financial expenses. My point is that there's a ton of different applications on why this program is important and how it can help them qualify, but most importantly, and why we're here today, is shows you how it improves your overall business. This is not a widespread program in terms of everybody on the block has it. Our goal as Unison is really to spread it out to everybody, but we're still in the beginning phases. There's not a lot of competition. The more you know, the more competitive you are. The next time you're at a listing appointment and you have other agents that don't know about this program. Okay, so this will make you competitive. And I'll talk about that a little bit further. I don't want to get too deep into that, but take a look at this matrix right here. Okay, you see off to the left side home values. At 10%, there's mortgage insurance in there, and you see the payments associated with that. Adding an extra 10% gets rid of the mortgage insurance and lowers the loan amount, right? So what does that do? It relieves really the debt pressure or on the stress on that customer qualifying. So maybe if you have somebody that's on the verge of qualifying or not, adding more money to it can soften that debt to income ratio. But really what it does is it gives them more cash flow. It eases the pain of just being cash strapped to that house. I can't tell you how many customers have called me asking me, hey, can you help me out? I can put down 10%, but it's going to put me in a position where I'm paycheck to paycheck, right? I'd love to buy this house, but still I'm stressed. There's a lot of people that are in those kind of situations, but ultimately adding money to the table relieves debt stress. Would you agree with me on that?
Yes.
Yeah.
So the flip side is the reason customers are using us. I mentioned buying power, right? So you see off to the left, annual incomes. In the middle, they're qualified at 10%. Add another 10%, you get rid of the mortgage insurance, you lower the loan amount. But if they're qualified at a 10% in the middle, they're also reducing their debt to income ratio, which means you can ratchet it up to the qualifying number per the guidelines on a 30-year fixed mortgage. Ultimately, what happens is it increases the amount of loan that they could qualify for, still under the ability to repay, but it gets them into a higher price point. We're taking customers from a townhome to a single family residence, from $650 to $750. On the higher side, from $1 million to $1.2. $1.8 to $2 million. Okay, we're leveraging your customers' buying power by us partnering alongside them. Okay, they're still qualifying on the ability to repay. So do you have those customers that have that champagne taste beer budget? Right? I'd like to afford in this community with this school district, but I can only afford in this community with this school district. This one's better. Can you help me get there? Right? So this is what it's addressing. So if you're at one of these properties here, off to the right, and you get a customer that comes in, let's say you're off to this property over here, it's $885,000. And you get a customer that walks in and says, I love this house, the school district, the floor plan, closer to work, everything's perfect about it, but I'm only qualified at $800,000. What would you do? Have you had those customers who want to negotiate? Will your seller negotiate with us? Or no, but let's get you connected with our lender to potentially qualify you on the Homebuyer program that might get them into that property quicker. So from a competitive standpoint, now you're talking about entertaining more qualified customers for that listing. Right? Helping you be more competitive the next time you're at a listing appointment, competing against other agents who don't know about this program. It's making you more competitive. So it gives you that advantage. But what if you're that buyer's agent? What if you're that buyer's agent? And you got a customer that's qualified at $752. And then they go online and they find something that's $800,000. Darn it! What are we going to do now? Here's a way to help potentially leverage them to get into the house that they'd rather have. It opens the inventory that they can qualify for. Again, we're not putting them into any precarious position. They can qualify on the loan. They have to, based on the ability to repay. Okay, so we're opening up the inventory that they could potentially qualify for, helping you find them a property quicker. Okay, so there's two different ways. It expands the inventories and it qualifies more customers. And now you have a customer that has 20% versus 10%. So the next time you're in that multiple bid situation, it's more apt, right? You got more money to work with that he's going to qualify or potentially get that offer accepted. So here's our return on investment. Okay? So what's in it for us? Okay, I mentioned earlier that we share in the change in value. We don't share in all the equity. If you call us an equity share program, you're really misleading it. Because when you think of all the equity, you think of, from point A to point B in a total value. But let me delineate that. Okay, so there's three different types of equity when the customer buys a house. There's their down payment. That's equity, right? That's their initial equity. We don't share in that. Equity is also created as they pay their mortgage down over time, right? Every monthly payment reduces the principal balance, creates equity. That's theirs too. If they go and renovate their kitchen and bath, remodel it, and creates equity, adds a pool to the property, creates equity, we don't share in that equity created by that home improvement. It's just the change in value between the time they enter the agreement and the time they exit it. Okay, and I'll explain how those two parameters I just told you about, especially the one with the home improvements. Okay, but it's only in the change in value. Okay, so customer is buying $1 million property. Okay, now this is relative. It could be higher, could be a little bit lower, but it's all relative. He's carrying an $800,000 30-year fixed mortgage, cookie cutter loan. Now in this case, it's a 20% down payment requirement, right? So he's coming in with 10, we're coming in with 10%. Okay, so we're splitting the down payment in this case in half, right? So when we put 10% of the value of the property into the investment, we share in 35% of the change in value, either up or down. Okay? 35% of the change in value.
Not bad.
And actually, we're going to improve that down to 33%. Gives them a little bit more. But the majority, even though we're splitting it 50-50, if I were to come and partner in with the house with you and buy it, I give you 10, you come in with 10%, I come in with 10%. Doesn't it make sense that if we're splitting the down payment in half that we would share it 50-50 in the end when we go to sell?
Not true. I don't agree with that.
Well, so don't read too much into it. But the logic behind it is that we're splitting the down payment in half. Neither one of us is occupying it, but we're just
making the payment.
Neither one of us is occupying the property. It's just a rental type property from a logistics standpoint. Okay? So we're both investors buying a property 50-50. Logically speaking, that we would split the proceeds in half in that kind of situation. Okay? It's a non-owner property. But in this case, the properties that we do invest in, they're owner occupied. Single families, townhomes, PUDs, and condos. Okay? Typical type properties. All right. So you see that when we put in 10%, we share 35%. The majority in this case here, 65% of the proceeds go to your customer. Okay. Now this is an example of what happens over a 10-year period. Okay, you want to look at this, so because I know you're going to throw me a curveball over here.
Oh, yeah, curveball for you.
Come on, I'm at bat. I'm ready to go. So We're selling at $1 million, we're buying at $1 million, okay? The value of the property, now these are all arbitrary numbers, right? That's just used for example. All it really talks about is the change in value and how we participate. So 10 years down the road, it goes from $1 million to $1.2 million. So the change in value is $200,000. We get 35% of that plus our original investment. They get 65% of that change in value plus their original investment when they're selling.
You mean the owner?
I'm sorry?
They are the owner?
They're the owner, right?
So you guys only share 30%?
35% of the change in value plus our original investment.
Why are you so generous?
So
I didn't know that.
they get the equity that's created by the mortgage being paid down from 800 to 630. Remember that mortgage pay down equity? That goes to them. So when they sell it at 1.2, they pay off the first trust deed at 630. They pay off Unison at 170. They net out 400,000. They own the property completely, just like everybody else does. We don't take any ownership of the property. We don't even ask for a title policy. And because of that, they pay for the selling expenses. But they get full rights of ownership just like everybody else does, including property tax and interest write-offs. Okay? So that's how it works on the top side. But what if the market crashes like it did 10 years ago? Now, how does that look? Like it did back in 06 and 07 or 08 and 09. So what happens? It goes from $1 million to 800,000. So the change in value is 200,000 still, but now it's negative. We're still taking a 35% share, but now it's a loss to us. So instead of us making 70 grand, now we're losing 70 grand. Okay? So the net payout to us is we deduct 70 grand from the 100 that we put in. So we only get 30. They still get the benefit of the mortgage being paid down from 800 to 630. In this case, they're netting out 140 grand. Okay? So what happened here? Really, when you look at it and you step back, is that we're sharing the risk. There's no 100% guarantee that it's always going to go up. Right? We know that. But the point is that we're an investor. We invest in these properties like it's a stock. We know it can go up in value, but we definitely know it can go down. So the market goes down to the, say, 700,000, it could evaporate our total 100 grand. What happens to our loss right here? What do you think we're going to do with that loss? Right, we're going to write it off, but it's non-recourse. If we were a lender, we would give you a 1099-C or cancellation of debt, which would go on your taxes. Here, thank you, but here's your tax bill. We don't. We're an investor, we just lost. That's the way the market dealt our cards, right? So that's how it would work in that position. But let's just take that and think about 06 and 07 when you had those customers that were putting in their life savings into a property. Had they had split the down payment, they'd still have half their down payment in the bank. Hypothetically, of course, but the point is that we reduce their overall risk exposure in the market. Right? Instead of putting it all into the house like a lot of people did and letting it evaporate, now they still have money they can fall back on for whatever purpose they need it for. So take it to the next level on the top. They're selling it at 1.2. But the guy's selling it because he lost his job. Now he can't make the payments. He's going behind on his mortgage. The lender's going after him for the keys or the payments. Us as an investor, what do you think we're going to do? What would you do if you're in that position on top there? I would call you up and say, hey, Mr. Customer, we notice you're behind. Can we help make those payments current? Because as an investor, it makes all the sense in the world for us to salvage whatever equity is left in there. So we stave off or we put off a foreclosure, everybody walks away with some kind of money. Now it would address or adjust the overall agreement, In the end, your customer has the option of saying, yes, help me out, or no, go pound sand. But it's an option nonetheless that they have, and a side benefit of us partnering alongside. Reduces overall risk. So again, it's all about the change in value. This is a 10-year period. It could have gone up 100,000, could have gone down 100,000, but in this case it went from $1 million and it's now $1 million when they're selling it. So there's 0% change, or zero change. 0 times whatever percent I have there is still 0. How much did this guy have to pay on that $100,000?
0.
No principal or interest for 30 years. It could be 20 or 30 years out. If the value comes down to where it's at, you know, it's whatever that change in value is. That's why I'm stressing this. It's a change of value. It could have been that it came, you know, 10, 15 years, it sold at $1,010,000. So the change in value is $10,000, and we only get 35% of that, or $3,500 plus the original. You see how it is? It's only in the change in value.
I got a question for you.
Yes.
Let's say client does a scenario, and the equity goes up to from $1 million to $1.2 million.
Like it on top?
On like first example.
Uh-huh.
And he suddenly realizes that, what, you know what, I want to do a cash out.
Okay.
What happened in that instance when he does a cash out? He takes out $400,000.
Okay, so that's a great question. So he can refinance and do a rate and term on the first anytime. So I'm going to go down the parameters. He can cash out, but under these circumstances. Let's say he buys a house and it's $800,000 when he starts. 10 years it goes down to $400,000, right? So he basically paid his mortgage down to $400,000, and now he wants to get cash out, but he doesn't want to pay us off. He can get cash out so long as the loan amount doesn't go beyond that initial loan amount that he started at, which is $800,000. So he can get $400 grand, and we'll subordinate. But if he wants to base or get money that was larger than his initial loan amount, or based on a new value where the loan amount's higher,
Right.
okay, so then he would have to buy us out in that case.
I got a twist in that question.
Sure.
Let's just say the value of the house, right?
Uh-huh.
Is $1 million. And then in this case, you put 100, he put 100,
Right.
which is 20% down,
Uh-huh.
right?
Right.
So the loan's 800.
Okay.
So he's gonna pay for the next 10 years. And now
Okay.
the loan is only,
630.
yeah, 630.
Right.
Okay. So now he said, you know what, I wanna do a little cash out and take some cash out.
Okay.
The value has not changed. Let's just say
Okay.
it remains the same, $1 million, 10 years later.
So
So technically,
Mhm.
in your scenario, you have not earned anything. There's
Correct.
no change in value.
correct.
However, he's gonna take that cash out at 630. He's gonna take that, or let's say $200,000 or $100,000.
So long as he does it, if he's able to get cash out up to that 800,000 mark,
Right.
we'll subordinate. If he wants to get higher than an 800,000 loan amount, then he has to buy us out.
But can he take that cash out and pay you off? That $100,000?
Absolutely. We just ask him to hold on to the agreement for 3 years. After that third year, so the program's really
For
meant
2
to
years
be.
after the cash out.
No. So hear me out on this, okay? Here are the provisions in place. Customer wants to keep the property and he wants to get rid of Unison. We ask him to hold on to the agreement for 3 years. At that time, after the third year, he can refinance us out to buy us out based on the new value. We treat it like a sale, like up top.
So you will send somebody there for appraisal for that?
There will be a
current
cost for an
value.
appraisal,
Right.
yes, that he will bear.
So you guys determine at that point.
So
Current
through an
values.
AMC, through an appraisal management company, I want to be clear on that because we don't influence the value of the market or the value of that
So
property.
that would be a third party.
Yeah.
coming
Yes,
Do the
through the same
evaluation.
appraisal management companies that are being used today in all the purchases today.
Okay.
Okay, it's independent from Unison. Again, it's really meant to be fair. So if they want to get rid of us, we ask them to hold on to it for 3 years. Gives the investor a little time to make some money on the money they put forth.
The 3 year at the
Uh-huh.
beginning after the closing of escrow date.
Yes.
The next 3 years.
Right.
And then after, 3 year, 1 day, and then they technically can refi, and the refi.
And they can buy us out.
Yeah.
and get rid of us.
They can pay you out, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So here's another provision.
One more.
Oh, go
thing.
ahead.
You say at least 3 years so we can make our investors money back. But, so how do you make the money at that 3 years?
So it's all based on the ending value. If it's still $1 million, then there's no change in value. So just give us our original investment.
Okay, so in that case,
But-
you haven't made any money.
Right. So that's the risk we take. But let's say that, you know, it went down in this situation and now they want to get rid of us. Okay? So if they want to keep the property and get rid of Unison and the value went down, then the minimum that we take, to be fair to the investor, is our original investment. You got to use our money for X amount of time. To be fair to us, we're okay with our original investment, but we're not going to take a loss if you want to keep the property. If you sell it in a down market, we'll take a loss.
That's a caveat.
Yeah,
It's fair.
That's fair.
it's fair.
Very generous.
Hold
Right?
on, hold on.
Yes, sir.
Can you repeat that again? You said if we keep the house and we buy you out when the values of the property go down,
Right.
then we have to get you 100%.
Just our original investment back.
Unless we sell it off, right?
Unless you sell it.
Unless you sell it. If you sell it at a value lower because the market's depressed,
Okay.
right? No undue influence in between, no family members selling, anything like that, right? But you get what I'm saying, right? It's just so long as it's the market value, then we just get our original investment back.
But the owners still have to pay for the commission and everything.
Yes.
For closing and
Just like they would in any normal position that they would
So
buy
we have
today.
no part of that, you don't say any cost?
We don't take any ownership of the property at all. We're not here to own properties, we're just here to invest alongside the customer.
Right.
So on the lien of the house,
Mhm.
on the, do you guys show up anywhere in the title anywhere?
Yes.
Okay, you do.
We show up as a memorandum of option agreement. It just says that Unison has an interest in this property. We don't have an ownership right to it, it just says that we're participating in the future value of it. There's-
It's like a lien.
It's a lien,
It's a
right?
lien.
Because how else do we protect our interest, right?
Now, so you have no, as far as authority or decision making as far as who we wanna sell or what we wanna do?
No,
No, they have.
So who, let's say someone wants to add another owner to the title, like your brother or your sister.
so you can, there's gonna
You
be
would
like
have to
an
ask for permission.
A regular.
You know, it's not a matter of permission, it's just a matter of just letting us know, because it changes the scope of the agreement, right? You're changing that, so we do need to be informed on that,
Okay.
okay,
We
so,
don't need your approval.
right, we just, let us know. Okay, so does everybody get this? We make money on top side, we lose on the down, if there's no change in value, we just want our original investment back.
Yeah.
Simple as that,
Yeah,
very transparent.
I still have a question, like, if I buy in the house,
Uh-huh.
and like a year down the road, and I decided, I don't like the house, and I'm gonna sell it.
Okay.
I want to rent it out.
Okay, so you can rent it out.
I can,
You can't.
Okay, so listen to me on this.
Okay.
You cannot.
The agreement has to always have an owner-occupied
Uh-huh.
person in it. If you leave, it changes the agreement, it's called at that time. You can rent it out, we're not gonna say no, but we're not gonna be in place, you have to buy us out. Okay?
So you can rent the property.
No.
Just keep one room.
Oh, but we can share the room.
It's all about sharing.
It's all about sharing.
and if they don't know, it's a good sad man.
Yeah, you don't need to know.
Ah, you're working it already, I see you. You're working it.
Oh, the Unison.
don't know.
Yeah, we don't need to inform you.
That's really good.
So, this is how it works. Now let's just say that customer goes and renovates his kitchen and bath.
Okay.
So, you know that you can put a $50,000 pool in a property, but it only adds about $20,000 in actual value.
Yeah.
So it's the same principal approach that we're using here. So you see off to the side there to the left, he's putting in 100 grand, okay, into a new kitchen and bath. So what we ask him to do is say, you can take advantage of the remodeling adjustment, which means that we don't participate in equity created by home improvements. But what we want you to do is let us know, take before and after pictures. I want to see the condition before and after the remodel. I want you to do it with a licensed contractor and keep whatever permits are required for those upgrades. Hold on to that document. Yes, it's got to be permitted, right?
Yes. Of course I do.
It's gotta be permitted, right? I mean, cause anything
That's a
that,
great angle there.
so it's gotta be permitted, but the point is that once they go to exit, now let's say, now they're selling it at 1.2. Okay, down in the future. So they give their documentation to an appraiser through an appraisal management company. Yeah, we talked about that, right? So it's not independent of Unison. So the appraiser is going to adjust for those home improvements. Okay, in this case here, he said, well, all that upgrade, you put in $100 grand, but it's really only worth about $10,000 or $50,000. Okay, so all we do is just adjust the sales price per the agreement. So now the change in value goes from 200,000 down to 150. The percentage stays the same, just the dollar amount is less. So we're not sharing in equity created by home improvements. That's how how the customer takes advantage of it. It's really a fair program. No one side has an advantage over the other. Right? We're hoping to get your customer into the house that they would rather buy versus being held to what debt solutions or just your current, it's not a bad thing, right? Because it's everything that we've known all the way up to really now. Everything that we pay on, there's a principal and interest payment on it, right? But now we're putting in a little twist in this. Well, no, there's no payment to this. So it's different. It's a different mindset. But the people we're helping, the majority of them are leveraging their buying power. Going from a townhome to a single family. Going from one community to the one that they prefer to have their kids go to. There's other customers that are reserving cash. Had a guy out in Camarillo. He was qualified at 25% down. He was buying at $840 purchase price, but he decided that he didn't want to put all his money down because maybe he got bit a while back. So he split the down payment with us. So we actually came in with 10. And he kept the other half in the bank. So now he's got money for whatever purpose he needs it for. For him, cash is king. Could be a self-employed business owner who doesn't want to use all his income or his funds from the business, right? So there's that other person. This is the reason I'm bringing this to your attention. It's because there's a bigger application on why and how this actually helps those customers get the house that they want and get them into it so they can enjoy a home ownership. Does that make sense? I might not have stated that correctly, but it's just that it gives them an option that they didn't have before. And ultimately, that's what it is. It's just an option, right? Here's something that you can qualify. Here's a single family. You're qualified at $800,000. It's this single family residence in this location. But you found something that's $900,000, 2-story, closer to wherever you want to be. Here's an option for you to get you there. We're not steering them, go this way. We're saying, here's this, you can do this, you can also do this. Make a choice, but it gives you more choices to give them, right, as an agent, and it gives them a choice in how they can buy their home. Have you ever had, so I already talked about customers not wanting to unwrap their, or I haven't actually, their stocks, their bonds, their mutual funds, their 401ks. Yep. They got money in the bank. Mm-hmm. Yes. They'd rather leave it in there where it's making them money. They want to use other people's money to help leverage your buying power. Yes. So we get people that are partnering with us. And let me ask you this, or let me tell you this. Last month, got a call from a loan officer. Says, Jim, we qualified this customer, I think it was like $1.2 million. And they were qualified at a 10% down payment, but he was using income that he was supposed to be getting from his employer. Well, turns out that he couldn't get that extra income. Now the good thing was his loan officer told him about the program and told him about it ahead of time. So she calls me up in a scramble, Jim, we've been in this escrow already 45 days. They're giving me a notice to perform. Otherwise, this customer is going to lose the house. Can you help us out? So we added an extra 10% and closed the deal in 10 days. So instead of if you have those kind of escrows that are shuttering, adding extra money can alleviate those stresses in that kind of situation.
Can you add 20%?
10%.
Somebody that you don't have any program for zero down payment.
No. They have to have 10%. 5% can be their own funds and 5% can be gift to make up their 10, but they have to have 10.
What about the 10%? Is it dependent on the valuation of the property, or can be any property?
Any property they want to make a purchase on.
What I mean is, if the person is buying the property above market value.
So it's the purchase price or the appraised value, just like the lender.
Price.
Just like the lender, we always go off the lower of the two.
Okay.
Okay, because the lender's not going to base it off of a lower value, even if the value is higher.
So I have a question.
Yes, sir.
So you will send your own appraisal company there? Or
No,
your
it's an
company?
independent appraiser. Through
From
an
the
appraiser.
lender?
Yes, from the lender.
So it's still based off the lender appraisal value?
Right.
It's gonna based on a lender, it's gonna based on a lender who actually sent out the appraisal
The
to
appraisal.
get that value
Oh,
coming
okay.
in.
So you guys take a look at that report and
Yeah.
determine whether you guys
Exactly.
go ahead and accept it or not?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, if everything looks fine, the appraised value comes in, sports market value, it's conforming the whole thing, then yeah. Simple as that. We don't overcomplicate it. So,
So
yes.
your minimum or maximum match fund is 10%, right? What if I put in 20% down?
I'll do
for my
10.
house, and will you do 20?
No.
Another 20?
It's only 10.
It's only 10.
Right.
Even the down payment is 20%, you can put 10% more.
If they come in with 20, I'll do 10. If they want to do 30, I'll do 10.
It doesn't matter.
If they want to do 50, yeah.
Okay.
If you buy
But
it
so-
off, if you buy it
VA.
off, you pay 10.
No.
VA loans.
It's jumbo only, 30-year fixed mortgage.
It's only, it's only,
Right,
Unison
no VA,
right
no
now is only
FHA.
behind
What's
a
maximum
Just
fund
about
purchase?
Investment. So if
That's
it's a
not
$5
gonna be
million
affordable.
property, I can put in 500,000 or
Wow.
10% of that value,
Okay.
Up to 500,000.
So just a
or 10%, whatever's
conventional
lower.
10% off the 500,000.
30 years.
So,
No, it's not a
we've gone
conventional
through a
30
lot
year,
here.
it's a, sorry.
right, we've gone through a lot, but we want to be sure that your customer is thoroughly informed on this program. So it's actually very important to understand that we leave the underwriting and processing up to the lender. We want to be sure that the customer that we're partnering with understands our program thoroughly. So we send them out our application, a program guide, and a quiz. Mr. Customer, you have to answer all these questions on the quiz as you go through the program guide.
So you have to
Once
pass
they're
the
done,
quiz to be eligible for
I haven't had anybody fail. But once they're done, they go back to our program specialist assigned to them at the beginning. Okay, and then they review all the questions and answers. At that time, they're going to be thoroughly vetted, and and they're going to know whether or not this program's for them.
Can you go back?
But so let me finish on this. But the point is that if they don't go through our educational piece, we don't give them the money.
Right.
But I can tell you that, just like I was giving you that example, we've had customers do it overnight to 3 to 7 days on average. We haven't missed a close as a result. So it's not the typical educational where, it takes hours on end. It's really based on, or up to the customer understanding the program. So we're quick at what we do is what we do. We also qualify the properties. We have a proprietary system that the investor, or that your lender has, and they pre-qualify the properties. Majority of the properties in the area will qualify. The ones that are rural or atypical, overbuilt for the area. You got $1 million property surrounded by 700. Those are atypical. We don't like those. If they're out there on the outskirts in the canyons, then most likely we'll want to invest. But in the metro areas here, no problem. There are some that are flips within the last 12 months. And then we will look at that. We may say yes or no, but ultimately, our investment team will make a decision on it. Okay, so, yes, sir.
One last question.
Last one?
Yes.
Everybody's laughing. I don't know why.
Yeah, my last one, because you're always putting 10% on the appraisal value, right? What happened if the appraisal value is $500,000, but we buy it at $600,000?
They don't invest.
So do you put in 10%?
No.
Like we do, like can we buy
Okay,
overpriced?
No.
First of all,
The answer is no.
this program right here is only applied to jumbo loan.
Yes.
So in other
So
words,
about
the
1,000,
property
a million,
has.
so
So
I
everybody's
buy
a
a
million.
million one.
Okay, if you buy for $1,000,001,
Yes.
they only going in 10% based on whichever lower.
Yes.
So as a lender or as an investor, they only gonna take the conservative way of it, which is they can take a lower value.
So
Just
two.
like if I'm a
what
lender,
is the
I'm gonna
jumbo
lend you
loan
a
amount,
loan.
a minimum required, 700,000?
The loan amount has to be above 725,
So,
726.
so let's touch on that, because,
626,
so this is a new
726.
program for Kathy.
726?
So hear me
Above
out on
that.
this. Hear me out on this, and, because this is new,
Yeah.
okay? You can actually finance, a loan $1 over the conforming limit with the
Exactly.
investor that you have. So it's gonna be 484 and $1 over the conforming
Yeah.
for the county,
Orange
not the
County-
726.
No, Orange County didn't go up to 726.
But what I'm saying here is that the investor will allow the loan amount, the minimum loan amount is $1 over the conforming,
Which is 490.
which is 484.
The 484. I believe the jumbo program, the movie program, is only the exact loan amount above the high balance.
So we'll investigate that together.
I'll confirm that when I get
Okay.
back to the office, but
Mhm.
like I said, it's only go behind our Ruby program, which
Yes.
is a jumbo program.
Yes,
Which is
exactly.
It's a jumbo program.
Which is the 26.
726, yeah. So in other words.
But we're gonna confirm that, okay?
Well, I'll confirm that when I get back to the office.
726
Yeah.
the maximum confirmed.
Minimum.
No,
Oh, that's high balance.
it's a maximum
Jumbo.
loan amount for high balance for
Max high balance.
Orange County and LA County.
726.
Beyond-
That is
beyond
the-
726 is a jumbo.
The limit
Yeah.
for the
high
county,
balance, for the
yes.
county,
But
yeah, for the
484
county.
is the minimum.
Yeah, 484 is for.
It's
Yeah,
a
but this
maximum.
program only apply for the purchase.
Right,
Besides that, it's no refund.
Budget and on the occupy.
right.
No, is there no refund?
So, we do have because if you go on the website, you'll see that we do have a sister program, it's called the homeowner program, and it's independent of a mortgage. Somebody wants to access money out of the property, they can with one of our programs.
No, it's some of the clients,
But
you know,
we
they
don't
do-
offer that through.
Some of the clients, they do it the hard money before when they get, not qualified for the income. So they pick, by the hard money or whatever, the private lender. And then now they wanna refi back, the 30 years, conventional. Then you guys would jump into it, go with that?
So it's a little bit more detailed on that,
Yeah.
but that's a whole nother program and a whole another dialogue. I don't
It's a
really want.
similar program, but only,
The mechanics are the same, it's just a little bit,
Just a
yeah.
little bit different, but for now, with the Unison that we have right now, it's only go with purchase.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's not apply.
that's
Yeah.
what you determine with that.
Yeah. Any questions? What do you guys think?
What is the condition?
It's an option.
It's an option.
What is the fee and condition requirement for your
Yeah,
Unison?
so we follow the lender's
I would just
guidelines.
go to sub it, go
Which
do a
is-
little bit more.
So if we follow the lender guidelines.
Yeah.
Really, whatever the credit score is, it might be a 680, 43 back end. I'm trying to, I don't have it in front.
I'm sorry,
680 minimum.
yes. The
640,
score had to be a 6 minutes.
680.
Yeah, about.
And then a 43 back end. There are reserve requirements, not sure on that one, and how much.
There's a reserve requirement based
Do you
on.
charge
But so-
any fees?
Yes, we do.
What is the 640 and 660?
No, those are different programs. That's a program
That's
I'm gonna
different
talk about.
programs.
After he's done with this
Ah,
project.
don't be worried.
This is a totally different program.
That's
You
totally,
jumped the gun.
you don't have the documentation on my
I think you're
program.
going a little bit faster than that.
Zero down for a loan program.
I do. That might be my next
We
program.
have a client
are
who's
aggressive,
zero down.
different,
I'll have that
know.
program.
Okay,
That's a
so
program.
tell me about
Good
the
agent.
fees and.
Okay, so
the fee.
we have a transaction fee, it's 2.5% of the investment,
Yeah,
of the investment amount.
Yeah.
So if it's 100,000, how much does it cost?
2,500.
Right.
That's the only one.
And it can be credited by the seller or the lender. Okay, 2,500, or so it's 2.5% of the investment amount, not of the
Plus?
purchase price, not of the loan, of how much we put in.
Plus the origination.
Are
You think we have to pay them more than like,
No.
besides the 2.5%?
So then you have the lender that's doing the first
Origination
trust
fee, right?
deed loan, whatever the cost is with that.
Whatever they
No,
charge
no,
you.
no. Unison himself, okay, you're gonna think about it's a two different loans.
Two different loans.
That's why you say
Unison
Unison.
pay
itself,
both.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
Unison itself, only they're charging
You're paying you and paying me,
2.5%
okay?
on their down payment.
I need my
Let's
money.
say they give you $100,000, their fee will be $2,500.
Okay.
That was their fee, had nothing to do with us.
You are making money.
So where's the difference?
It's for the
With us, we are the regular normal lender, so our fees only charging you the
minimum,
The rest of it is your rate,
Okay.
whatever the rate you want.
Okay, so I'm gonna stop with that. I'm gonna be here for a little longer, to answer any other questions.
Jim,
She has a question.
Last question.
Okay.
last question.
You just say like 2.5% fee from your lender based on the
Loan amount?
10% on your
Yes.
invest or loan amount.
No, pay
On
on
how much?
first investment.
10% that we put in.
Like,
100,000 and 2,500.
So if it's $50,000, how much is it?
Like,
$1,250.
Easy. So what about, you know, like 500,000?
No.
We always in 30%.
So folks, I appreciate your enthusiasm behind it. Give us a call.
You have a card?
Yes, I do. And let us help you, bring another tool to the industry out here, right?
All right.
Yes, I do.
I just want to say thank you for your time, and this is a good program.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
I need a clarification about that 44.
Okay.
Because
That's important, that's important, because if it is above 44, that opens up bigger door.
Yeah, well, I'll go into detail more into the program.
All right.
But he's done on his part, for 10%, okay?
Yeah.
The
Good.
PRMG offering the first
Yeah, man,
lender
come on, man.
to offering the first loan amount.
Now we
Let's
go
say
on.
you purchase a property for $1 million and we'll come up with a 20% down payment. Your borrower can come up with $100,000, which is 10%. Unison can come in with another 10%, which is another $100,000. Your loan amount right now is $800,000. The borrower had to qualify for that $800,000 loan amount first, with whichever rate that you want to pick on the rate sheet that I have. Of course, that rate sheet, there's rebate pricing, there's par pricing,
It's a different
whatever
story.
rate that you guys pick depend
No,
on
the
your
buyer
borrower.
can pick another lender behind that, or we have to choose your lender.
You're gonna have to choose PRMG, because at this
Okay.
point, Unison is approved with
Support
PRMG to
PRMG.
supporting the second loan program that had no payment on it.
Yeah.
So when the borrower qualifying for this loan, they only qualify based on the first. The ratio is not exceeding 43 back ratio.
Got it.
Okay, so there's no payment due to Unison, so therefore you don't need to calculate payments on that.
Right.
The only thing, of course, you have to enter into an agreement with Unison with a term that you guys agree on at the beginning.
What does the
when
rate
you
say?
loan. So it,
Now he's talking about.
The rate that, on the term sheet that you have, if we use Unison in that case, your rate will be based on the number and 820. No.
no,
9 cents, right?
no, well, our rate will be at 8%. Because the fact that he's not a second one.
Yeah, he acts like a second one.
Yeah, but he's not. He's pretty much like he's a silent second. He's actually sharing, own the property with you. So in case that the property in the loss, guess what? They're gonna take the loss.
He only comes when you party in the house.
Right.
There ain't no party in the house.
Unless you invite me.
Okay, so, do you have any more questions regarding that with Unison? I'm gonna go in with a completely different program, which is, Unison is a lender who was supporting their, how do I put it?
No,
Higher class
Unison is
people.
not a lender.
Have another program
Right.
that will be supporting the lower,
Double.
the lower income people. The people would have no money down, the people would have lower FICO score, but yet they wanna buy a house. So that's where we're coming in.
That's good.
Let's hear it.
Okay.
What about anybody have Mint Jail one?
The program guideline that I put in the folder for you
Hey, what's up?
is what you call the CalHAFA program. The
CalHAFA?
program is supported by the state of California.
We're talking about new issue right now,
There's
right?
a new
Brand new
program.
issue,
These are
okay.
for, I would say, this is for average people in Orange
Okay.
County wanna buy a house.
Okay, so now we're
That we
talking
have,
about
yeah.
new things.
So they have lower income, they have no money down, and they wanna buy an average house that's gonna be a performing loan now, which is between, anything lower than 726,000, okay? There's a lot of people nowadays, they just
So
say
what do
that.
they have? They have no income? and they
No,
have
no, 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 they have to have income.
Yeah.
Okay, they have no down payment, they have low FICO score, but they wanna buy a house. Okay, so those are people
Zero down
that
payment?
wanna, it can be a zero down payment.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Here.
This program right here is offered by, it's gonna offer you a first at 96.5% LTV, which is, they had to come in with a 3.5% down payment. I don't have the technology stuff to put it on the board, but I can talk, you know, on the, based on the document that I sent you in the folder.
Yeah.
Okay.
I need my house for living. I zero had no money.
Okay.
So I need zero
The
down
first
payment.
had to be at 96.5%, which is gonna go with the FHA program first at 96.5% LTV, which is the borrower only come in with a 3.5% down payment.
If they don't have it, you know, the 3.5%, are you gonna have another program?
I'll go to the next one, and that, you jump a little bit faster than I did, okay? That'll be the first. There's a second out there, which is supported by the state of California, that will come in with a 3% of down payment. In other words, the borrowers right now looking at only 0.5% money come in, it's their money, okay?
Closing costs, right?
There is another program, state of California decided to go into another loan on behind that second, okay? That will give you at least maximum of 3% to pay for closing costs and 0.5% different than you had to come in with. So in other words, is a borrower can come in with no money down. I mean, I just closed a bunch of loans that way, not in Orange County, but probably in the Riverside area, better. They can go as high as 105% CLTV, which is you can have the first, the second, and the third, okay? The requirement for that is the borrower have to be owner occupied. They never own a house for the past 2 years, which is, you guys are gonna have to submit it with a tax return to support that document. The minimum scores requirement's only at 640. And the maximum back DTI is at 45.
45?
What's the name of this program?
It's called CalHAFA. I got a program that I sent. It's a CalHAFA program. Okay, and the first is, because the program provided by the state of California, actually the state of California have a rate on it. The rate is in the system, is in the California state every day. And it probably changing every day depending on what day you guys wanna lock it. So, you know what, I think I found a rate sheet.
Yeah. So this program, does it have, I'm sure,
Yeah, the program have it.
prepayment penalty and all that stuff? I mean,
There's no prepayment penalty on it.
there's,
The only thing they're asking for is when you refinancing the property, when you sell the property, or when you transfer title on the property, you gotta pay the second and the third off. Okay, they usually let you subordinate the first and second, the second and third.
what's the breakdown between the first, second, and third?
The first had to be at 96.5% LTV. The second gonna be at 3%, and the third gonna be another 3%.
Why? 3%.
Okay, the first would be a 96.5% first, if insured by FHA. So that's gonna be an FHA loan first, at 96%. I'm sorry, 96.5% LTV. Okay, you would have a second at 3%. The rate on that second is 3.25%. Okay,
In some of the Riverside County, they have, 3% or 3.5 helping, program.
It is.
What they call the ASK program, it's a free, at least 15 years. Did you have that program too?
We do have that program, but that program only works for retail people. I mean, how do I put it? As a wholesale lender, the only program
That's
right
why,
now
we
is
have,
called.
if, somebody like this, you can help them, supply with the
Of course,
program.
yeah. Yeah. So, because of the, I mean, these programs, like I said, is supported by the state of California. So they are controlling the rate. They have the rate that posted in their website every day, that there's only one rate. There's no rebate, there's only par pricing. So let's say that you guys have a buyer that interest in this program, you have to charge them the loan fee on it. And the maximum loan fee you can charge on it is 2%.
On the top.
On whatever the loan amount that you, on.
They add on the loan, or the, have, the borrower pay upfront, and I ask 2%.
You're talking about the 2%? The 2% have to be paid by using the closing cost fee to pay for, or the borrower had to, get the money to pay for.
The borrower have to be at least 2% to pay upfront. Instead, it added down on the existing loan,
I'm sorry, I didn't.
So why, you have that, add to the 2%, add to the loan.
Okay, no. What I'm saying is, okay, do you know what, on any normal loan transaction, okay, the borrower will come in with, let's say, 5% down. You get them a loan at 95% LTV, right? They still have to come in with a 5% down for the down payment,
Right.
plus closing costs.
Right.
Unless seller decided to pay for it, or unless you're using your rebate pricing to pay for it. But since this program, it doesn't have any rebate pricing, it's only have par pricing. So the borrower actually have to either pay for their closing costs, or borrow money from the third to pay for the closing costs, or the seller can pay for it.
No, it's some of the transactions, they go like this. The seller, for example, they agree to sell the house for 500,000.
Okay.
But some of the cow half work out, buyer put the purchase contract is a 505, and reduce that 5,000 rebate from the seller back to the program calculate.
Okay, when you're talking about that, there's no such thing there's no such thing as a different sales price. There's only one sales price. Whatever you're negotiating, let's say that you're negotiating with seller that I'm buying your house for 500,000, but I pump up the sales price to 505, so I'll take the 5,000 to pay for closing costs. Those, I think that's just between the seller, the buyer, and the
But some
agent.
programs, they don't allow it.
Not that they don't allow it, they will not allow that at all. No one will allow that at all. So they still, based on the sales price, whatever the sales price that you guys can come up with. And the seller decided they want to credit the seller, the buyer with closing costs, that would be their choice. Okay?
Yeah.
The only thing that we will help on that is we will give you guys a first with a 96.5%, and we'll give you a second loan at 3%, and then we can give you another third loan with another 3%.
Yeah, that bumps it up to 104.
That bump up to 104. It used to be 105, but now they cut it down to 104.
Yeah.
So
104, so you're underwater.
yeah, not with the market nowadays.
Well,
You probably not.
at
You don't know.
104, you
You don't
basically
know how.
owning
Yeah,
what the house is
yeah.
worth.
You don't know
Yeah.
how that can go.
Right.
But this is one way to help your buyer to buy a house when they go to work. They have the income for it. They don't have the down payment, but yet maybe because of their debt is so much, their score is not as high as they want to be. Because with this program, it's only required score of 640. Versus you can go to any conforming program, they may be required to score higher.
What's a 5%, 95% LTV?
What do you mean with 95%?
What's a minimum FICO score for that? Or 5% down?
For 5% down, you can do as low as 625 score. But with 625 score, you're gonna pay a hefty pricing for it because there's a huge hit for 95% with the score 620.
It's better to go FHA then.
It's the same thing with FHA.
But you pay the premium anyway. The
Yeah.
insurance premium anyway.
Well, the premium amount can be financed.
That's true.
Okay, so let's say that you have a borrower gonna do a 96.5% first, and they're over, with FHA, they're over what they call the upfront MIP. that's 1 3/4%. That money can be financed into the first. So reality, when you add these things all up, they are at about 105, 106% CLTV. Because that 1 3/4% upfront MIP is being financed through the first.
Yeah. So what's the advantage of the CalFA?
The advantage of CalFA, you don't have to come in with any money. Let's say that you.
That third you basically talking
The second,
about.
that's the second and the third.
Yeah.
Okay. Reality, if you don't want to do the third, let's say you have a seller that's willing to pay closing costs for you. And the buyer only had to come in with the first, which is the 96.5%. And then there's a second at 3%. Reality, the buyer only come in with 0.5% for down payment. I mean, and the seller is paying for all the closing costs. So reality, the buyer doesn't have to come in with any money at all.
That means the buyer have to qualify for the.
Okay, the second and the third is the second, silent, and third.
Okay.
So therefore, there's no payment in it, and that that whole payment gonna be deferred until the end of the term, which is the end of the 30 years.
Okay.
Okay, and the only thing is when you're using the second, the rate for the second is 3 1/4%. Okay, but the third, there's no interest rate on the third. So reality is it for more, but it have income limit. So they will calculate income they will calculate based on the whole house income, not just the people on the loan. Let's just say you have a couple with a son sorry working, they will calculate based on the income for all people to cap the income on it, because they have limitation on the income. It's not like they actually the program is designed to help lower income people to buy a house. So therefore that they have a little bit more strict regulation than the one that is going to jump on.
I got a customer right now, he wants to put 0 down. His income is 120.
Okay.
He wants to get a 600,000 loan.
He'd be a perfect candidate for it.
Do you think that's CalFA the best program for that situation?
If he has no down payment, that's probably the best program that he can go to. If he has no down payment, unless that he will come in with, unless he will come in with 5% down payment, and then you can do the high balance program. And then you probably get better pricing for it.
This is look like going back 10 years, more than 10 years.
Well, this program, this program has been there, this program been here for ages. It's just because no one ever actually using it much, because at one time, everybody come in with 20% down payment, 30% down payment, so therefore, no one ever used the program. But now, since the younger generation came in, they more like, they go to work, but yet they don't have any savings, so they have no down payment, but yet they still wanna buy a house. This is a perfect program for them.
Can you and I do a price analysis on it?
Sure.
Using the CalFA as opposed to, let's say, 5% down with the.
Sure, okay, if you wanted to, I have my business card there, you can give me a call. I'll be happy to go through the program and I'll price it out for you.
Because I want to see what the difference also on the rate, the effects on the rate on the CalFA as opposed to a conventional 5% down, for example, or 95%.
Of course, yeah. Just, you're welcome to give me a call. I can go through the whole program and I'll price it through for you.
Oh, yeah.
And then see which way is better for them. Most of the people, like I say, using the program is because of the no down payment. Let's say you're doing the CalFA first at 96.5% and the second at 3%. Reality, they don't come in with half.
No, but I also want to see what would be the interest rate on the two scenario. What would be the payment on the two scenario? What would be your term?
Well, right now, if you want your scenario, right now, we're doing CalFA, the rate's only 4.25.
Yeah, but you're forgetting the rate on the second.
The rate in the second is the 3 1/4%. It's only 3 1/4%, and it's not, there's no payment due until 30 years, until either 30 years, which is the loan.
You're saying the second loan is deferred to the 30 year?
Yes. The second and the third is a silent second and third, so there's no payment due at all. You either gonna be selling the property,
Yeah.
or you refinance the property.
Okay, let's do that scenario. I mean, let's do both scenarios.
Yeah.
So I can give it to my client.
Sure.
Yeah, he wants to buy a house.
And both brothers together, they stay and they use the
On that particular program, they have to occupy the property.
Oh, yeah.
They both have to occupy
They
the
both.
property.
No,
Yeah, as long as they both occupy the property. They only asking, they only do that for owner occupied, again, they're not.
Đấy, con người con vậy đi học ngủ vợ just one dollar đi mua bánh mì thịt
It's based on the loan amount. Let's say that you have the higher loan amount you got, the higher income that you need. The borrower has to qualify for
What's the
it.
DTI?
Yeah, the DTI is 45.
Thank you.
So they have to qualify for the loan. These are programs provided by the state, so they don't have anything, they don't have any such thing as daily income, no income. You have to have something to, to get them qualified for. Okay. Do you have any more questions?
I will give you my scenario from the buyer.
Sure. Just
email.
Yeah. Just
we definitely will call you.
Yeah, just email me the scenario. I'll be happy to go through it, and then I'll price it out for you, and you can tell me which way, whichever way is better for you. Actually, which way is better for you.
Bảo hiểm.
Tell like here, the states, what if they try to go with this program but they put down more percent? That's what.
No, they can put down. Don't hold it down. Hold the regular contract. Pricing is much better. The rate is much better. Pricing is much better. Versing is the, let's say they have like even a 5% down payment. You actually can get a rate that can equal the cost for them. Versing, you do in a townhouse. Townhouse only have the car price. They don't have any rebate pricing, but you can pay them anything on top of that. You still have to, they have to pay you the fee for that. You can do that.
This is smelling about like 10 years ago. That's why.
I think this program, yeah, this program has been out for years.
So save money for another couple of years. So
yeah, it is. The
cross market again.
Yeah,
see, this is will be.
Yeah, the program is out there, and it's been out there for a long time.
Actually, I give you this. Purchase 600,000. Cycle 650. Paying for 120 a year. So give me the two best, the three best options. The three best options based on the
All right, hang on. Let me write it down so I can. I'll do that when I get back to the office.
I got a client ready to go.
Không sao, 2 tháng nữa. Vô như 10 năm mấy thôi. Cho chị hưởng cho nó là con gì đó. Chị chào cho đây. Không có đó thì siêu hết vì ngày mai là sếp nó vơ nè. Đó bây giờ nó gửi là đây là nó sếp là tôi luôn. Tôi xem qua cái ok cái gì siêu thích cái này tôi là
You make it. You made it 3 scenarios. Whenever you have it, so I can pass it on to my clients and I'll sit down and talk to them.
Okay, all right. I'll probably.
That's perfect. Yeah, pricing for all 3 scenarios. What would these payments be based on that loan amount?
Okay.
On the 600.
Okay. I'll do that when I get back to
And
the
these
office
costs,
tomorrow.
cost too.
Okay. I'll do that.
The cost for the 3 programs.
Okay. The pricing costs and.
Yeah, how much would he would have to come out with costs? So, based on the based on the hits and
I'll do that. I'll email you that tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'll be back to the office.
Please, tomorrow is fine.
Yeah, I'll do that.
They can refinance the first rate return.
bắt cho không cho con nào hết. 5 tháng chứ bữa 200 gì nên không chịu. No, doesn't matter. But yeah, the older
A favor.
Always have to be now, no matter what. The owner has to always be.
But don't let the buyer, không có cho the buyer.
Vô hả?
Không cho vô.
Thì cái đó cũng có cái right.
So it's gonna be something.
I know cái thằng này nó have the right. So,
Em có của con
Right.
cái người mà
How about this one?
có quyền không có cho hay vô.
We met the guidelines.
Thì bà chủ phải ask permission.
These are guideline program, these are VA program guidelines, and these are
Bạn nói bạn đi mua bánh nhiều mà mua nhiều nước ngọt. Đi mua nhiều bánh lại nước ngọt cho người chủ, tăng người tên ăn người ăn ở nhà để làm cho người ta mà feel good, rồi xong người ta có thể cho.
You don't have a card in the gym? Is this your card? What happened to the business card?
I have
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Good. All right, that's great. It's not too difficult, huh? It's pretty straightforward.
That's a very good program.
Thank you.
That we will
Good.
we'll get them approved.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, James. I'll be talking to you.
All right, I'll be here later. Yes, sir.
All right.
Okay, so this is the standard guidelines.
Your program is good, and you know what? The fee only 2.5 is a fair deal. And it's like the money, $25 you don't collect
It's been super popular, so.
another one,
What did you hear?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just a,
whatever you pay.
well, it's no interest, right? Because it's not a loan.
And then he's a parallel, just like a buyer, but he's a silent buyer, backup buyer.
Good call.
Yeah.
But the his condition is not.
Is this for us? Yeah, I was gonna make a little presentation. Oh, is the meeting over or what's going on?
That's right.
Because I was supposed to jump in the.
I see
Because everybody's going to leave soon, so it's not
Okay,
that quick.
Okay.
Sell all the company, right? They do this.
Oh, no.
Actually, we have a sample.
With the.
Có gì thì chị email qua cho Kevin sẽ respond lại cho chị nhá. Qua thì những cái scenario đó.
So, were you watching any basketball games?
Yes.
Were you watching it recently? Because we had a commercial.
Oh, yeah, commercial.
Yeah.
So your program is very familiar. I've seen it before. I heard it before.
Okay, well, cool. Well, that's good. That's what we want to bring it out to the masses.
So before everyone takes off.
Oh, the home inspection.
Yeah. So we're.
What other curveball do you
We're still
have?
running our special here.
I was waiting for the curve, so it went straight.
No, I didn't. Well, yeah, I didn't want to emphasize. Yeah, I figured I'll let you do your presentation.
So, well, okay, so you left me off. Easy.
Hey, you know what? I would love to make a 10% investment or something and get 25% return.
So we rolled out this program here, guys.
Good return, my friend.
But
Earlier this year.
30 years?
I'm talking about appraisal.
And it's been really popular for this promotion. So usually we do them like once or twice for a couple months. But this has been super popular ever since January. So we're continuing to do it. It's right now we're in May. So for any home inspection you guys do with us, we send you a $25 Amazon gift card. So that way it stays RESPA compliant. And also we're trying to, oh, she's talking to my boss.
Oh, your boss.
Yeah, so, and also another thing I wanted to discuss with you guys is, This is
housing
You guys, you guys don't have to listen.
You have a limited.
We have a class here.
So what is your rate for inspection? Is 500 somewhere around there?
No. We start at $280.
And it's passive.
So if you do a condo, so it's upwards to
when you look at all the
1,000 square feet.
it's great.
It's just gonna be
We just
$310.
invest.
We are having another class right now.
Oh, shit. Hello.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. So, another thing I wanted to talk to you guys about was the SB 442, which is the pool safety. So I just got an inspection today where a client has a above ground spa.